Yo, howdy. Good morning, good morning. Just a tad bit sleepy, but well, what's new? Stream on Sunday, which I don't normally do. Maybe I might take a break Monday. Well, I already took a break, like what, Friday or something? Thursday, I think it was. Something like that. I don't even remember. Days go by too fast. But right. We're done with Deltarune, at least for the time being. We still gotta do the normal route on Deltarune. But that can wait for a little bit longer, I suppose. I want to get back into Umineko and continuing wherever the hell we left off. I kinda don't remember what we were doing last. TBH. Sorry, just clean my glasses. Ever doing the Umineko weird route? Right, the whole thing with Eva. Okay, I'm starting to slowly remember. It's slowly coming back to me. Let's see. That's cool. Just randomized onto the correct song I was gonna go to anyway. Boom. Bum, ba-dum, bum, 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 bum. Get in. I didn't load a save. My bad. Just get to some talking so I can, like, right click. Oh, come on. There we go. Oh, okay. So, recap. I don't know where to begin for a recap, dude, actually. We know we're at the point where the murders already happened. It's already the day where they started doing that. Once everyone, I remembered all the grown-ups here in this room, like with the guns. I believe it was Cross, Eva, Rudolph, and Rosa. Yeah, they all got a gun and were loading them and all that. I think the kids went up to their rooms. They were thinking about the epitaph, how to solve it. Eva had some sort of idea after Rosa gave like a hint about what the river could be, I suppose. And she freaked out, went into a library, read something, ended up actually solving it, finding the room with all the gold. And she, well, not her herself, her like younger self ended up becoming the new Beatrice? Eva Beatrice. Had a whole fancy party and everything going on there. Solved the riddle of the witch's epitaph and was welcome as a new endless witch. She was gifted with aptitude for magic and is expected to grow into an extraordinarily great witch. This genius of a witch often overindulged in her own power during her younger days. Such are the trials only geniuses may endure, and if she proves successful, her name will surely be engraved in the history of endless witches. Will she be able to overcome the trials that forced her predecessor to surrender? I have no idea what's going to start happening with her now. We have Beatrice. We have past Beatrice, but not this Beatrice. It was a different Beatrice. They passed her name Beatrice to this Beatrice. And now we have Eva Beatrice, which is the new Beatrice, getting her name from the original, or not the original, but the Beatrice we know. It's so... That's way too confusing, dude. Anyway, rewind a bit. Go back to where she found the gold. Uh, Rosa ended up figuring out the epitaph shortly after, and then they made sort of a deal. She just wants her fair share of the gold. She doesn't really care about anything else. But Eva also did not want to immediately disclose that she found it. She wanted to wait a bit longer, and Rosa didn't like that. So she's giving her until the night to say something. I think that's correct so far. What happened before she even found the gold? Just all trying to solve it. They were all thinking about what it could be. Hmm. I don't think we've seen much of Battler or the others. I think, yeah, all the kids and Nanjo, I think, all returned to their rooms or something in the guest house. Oh man, it's been a while. I've been so focused on Deltarune. That's like all that's been on my mind. What else? I think about it for the recap. I don't think there were any moments with Battler and Beatrice that I'm forgetting. Other than them just being there when they were passing on the title of witch to Eva, younger Eva, which is still very weird, dude. It just it went back. How did it randomize back onto this one? I guess what happened way before the whole ceremony thing was older Beatrice, Virgil, I guess. Delia, Virgil, teaching Battler how to counter like the Devil's Proof and Temple's Raven, I believe it was called. Basically, Schrodinger's box. There could both be and not be a witch here. Anything else? I believe Beatrice started whining to Virgil that she wanted like a tip too or something like that. Ended up giving her something, some sort of hint. Something about the story of the sun in the north wind or something like that. I don't know if that was the exact name, but I think I'm remembering the gist of it. I think I'm basically caught up on the major details again. I'll probably remember things more as we start going through the story again. In any case, there was a whole lot going on with Eva that, and we didn't see much of anyone else during that entire time. And we're still barely. I didn't mean to do that. Good tips. We're still barely on the what? Second Twilight? Because we only have the 6 bodies. There was the whole like locked room like chain thing that happened with everyone. It was over right from the anyway, let's get back to it. Eva's returning from after finding the gold. Rosa with her, the only other person who knows. They're working together, at least for now. because Rosa really wants Eva to announce that she found the gold. She also really wants her portion of it right now. I would too, holy. And we left off with me wondering what could possibly start happening now with this Eva Beatrice that we got here. Is she gonna start showing up in the purgatory like area and start taunting Battler and whatnot? Maybe also be annoyed that he's denying the existence of witches. Because in a way, also denying her and all she went through to get where she is. Hmm. Anyway, a sip of coffee there. Let's finally continue. My brain's all caught up. Probably. Good as it's gonna get. Yep. Clapping together, have a dumb little clap battle. It was just as though Battler and Bessel's Palace had been the final thing needed for her succession. And right after that whole whatever it was, we're back here. They returned from the Golden One earlier. Rosa returned to the lobby. It was still her turn to rest, but her expression made it look as though she couldn't sleep deeply with all this tension.
無理してでも横になってろよ。後で答えるぜ。
ありがとう。どうしても寝つけなくて。シャワーだけ浴びさせてもらったから、私はもう十分よ。次の人、休んでもいいわ。
And next
キリエ
person.
さんたちはいかがですか？どうする？ルドルフさん、休ませてもらう？
キリエは休んでいいぜ。俺は起きてる。それくらいしか男らしいことができない。
You need your rest too, dude.
夫と一緒に起きて
Anything you can
るくら
do.
いしか女らしいことができないから。
Dude,
本当
dweebs.
に仲のおよろしいことで。夏日さんこそね。
エヴァと秀吉さんはぐっすりみたいじゃないか。
Still thinking about who the culprit might be. Because we gotten... Based on all the red text that I can remember that we got from Beatrice and, Oh man, I'm feeling bad that I can't remember. Hold on, give me a sec before I hover over him. Renov. It's Renov. Oh, not E. Based on all the red text we got from them, the culprit has to be one of the 18. There is no additional person. All of the goats. If so, who? I don't think it could be Eva. Or Rosa. Curious about Nanjo. Thinking about it, where was everyone during the... During the whole, like, closed room chain that was set? Right? No, I'm remembering more of what happened there. Battler came up with a theory that the culprit was one of the 6 that ended up dying. It wasn't an accident. And it wasn't self-inflicted, like purposely done to themselves. It wasn't suicide, basically. So I think I remember my thought being that it was self-defense. Maybe, right. Maybe while they were trying to kill the like fifth person, um, the fifth person like actually ended up fighting back pretty well, mortally wounding them, and then they ended up like going into a room and locking it themselves before they died. Something like that, right? But that would mean there is no culprit anymore. Unless there were more than one working together. Or spear-shaped dog. That's for all of them. Except Kinzo, who was found in the incinerator. Hmm. In any case, let's keep continuing. Seems Eva and Hideyoshi are out cold.
やはりローザと違い、年には勝てんね。
Call him old? As though in response to those words, the door to the hall clunked open. Eva and Hideyoshi returned from the guest room. It's none of your business. You think they, you think she told him? What's Eva onto? Oh, that's just actually just one big Deltarune reference. Oh, she's talking back. It's just... I once almost fell asleep in the shower, I think. I was tired and I was thinking, oh, you know what? A shower would probably wake me up. It didn't. That's... I didn't fully fall asleep, but man, I almost did. Almost slipped, dude. That would have been bad. Imagine that. Now they wanted to stay up. They've been over this.
Oh, thank you. 今は気持ちだけでいいぜ。兄貴たち、先に休んだらどうだ？ありがたいね。だが先に休むわけにはいかん。それくらいしか長男らしいことができないので。
Each of them seem strangely reluctant to be the first ones to like arrest.
私たちは最後まで起きていますので、ご心配なく。
That seems very bad.
それよりエヴァ姉さん、大丈夫？少し顔色が悪いわ。
そういや、そうやな。
None of them really trust each other that much. That's pretty fair, to be honest. Oops. Not really sure what's going on. The whole murder of their grandfather, or I guess father. And, all the servants. Just them. Everyone has a freaking gun.
ちょいと熱っぽいで。
Fever. Maybe she didn't tell him yet. Eva wasn't feeling her best.
言わんこっちゃね。
I think didn't even read the first part. Hideyoshi put his hand up against Eva's forehead. Wasn't feeling her best.
年のくせに生活リズムを崩すからだぜ。
Damn, calling her old.
夏日、上野南條先生を呼んできてくれんかね。
はい。いいわ、そこまで大げさじゃない。
Yeah, you have a doctor here. Might as well have him do something.
常備薬は持ってるから大丈夫よ。
Medicine.
疲れるとすぐ熱に出るの。心配しないで。
Get fevers when you're tired. That sounds awful.
姉さん、無理しないで。ありがとう。
So why are we getting the suspicious music?
私抜きで兄弟が集まってると、私の陰口でも言われてるような気がしちゃってね。
昔からの被害妄想なの。ごめんね。
私は何も言わないわよ。姉さんのいないところで姉さんの嫌な話なんて。どうしたの？
But Appa want to keep an eye on Rosa to make sure she doesn't talk.
姉さん、さっきから変よ。もう少し休んだら？
そうね。3月までの金策を考えたら頭痛がひどくなってきちゃったわ。
Think about raising money by March.
それは良くないわね。休
Hint,
んでて。
hint.
姉さんの頭痛がひどくならないよう私も実調してるわ。私だって頭痛さっきから辛いし。
ありがとう。じゃあ私、お言葉に甘えて、もう少し休ませてもらうわね。
どうしたんやエヴァ、急にへそ曲げて。
He
すまん
knows.
な、わし
Hold
は
on.
もうちょい休ませてもらうわ。すまんな、すまんな。
Umana. After apologizing several times, as though praying, Hideyoshi followed Eva out of the lobby. You gonna tell him now?
空気が悪いな。どうにもギスギスしている。
無理もない。早朝に殺人事件。それからずっとここで銃を抱きながら缶詰ですもの。ストレスが溜まって当然ね。
上の子たちもだいぶストレスが溜まってるんじゃないかしら。マリアが心配だわ。
What has Maria been doing this entire
こういう
time?
時は感触を起こしやすいの。
At that moment, they heard the sound of wild footsteps coming from the second floor. The guest house wasn't a cheap building, so they wouldn't normally have heard the sound of footsteps. It's like the sound of someone stamping their feet in frustration. Oh, alright, that's a funk you. And an instant later, accompanied by what seemed to be the sound of her running out into the second floor hallway, they could hear Maria calling, "Woo!" over and over again, sounding displeased. Rosa grabbed her head, her hair flying, and she voicelessly moaned in anguish. The adults conscientiously consciously turned their backs to her, pretending not to note. Big words are hard to say. The noisy clamor came down from the second floor and flew into the lobby. It was Maria who was sobbing, along with the other children in Nanjo. In other words, they ought to come downstairs because of Maria's tantrum. Rosa couldn't hide her dizziness at this new annoyance her daughter was bringing to everyone.
ごめんローザおばさん。私たちもなだめたんだけどどうしても聞いてくれなくて。
Atler told her that Beatrice wasn't real and she freaked out. Yep, it sounds like a tantrum, alright.
どうしたのマリア。少し静かにしなさい。みんな見てるわよ。
例のバラ庭園のマリアのバラ。
Oh, is it gone?
急に心配だと言い出して。
寝ぼけたみたいなんです。急にガバッと起き出して、バラが心配だ、バラが心配だって言い出して。
Why now, though?
マリアちゃん、落ち着いて。それは夢なんだよ。
You've been away from it for like all of... Actually, when did that happen? I guess a bit before... Or I guess a little... Just a bit after the typhoon started. So it's been about a day, right?
だから少し静かにしなさいって言ってるでしょ。
Oh, here we go. Sudden rise in tone of Rosa's voice surprised the children. Maria's crying just grew louder and her tantrum just grew fiercer.
ローザさん、子供を頭ごなしに叱ってはいけませんぞ。こういう時は温かい牛乳などを与えると良いものです。
Said she what? Gonna glare at Nanjo? How dare you?
ここにあるかもね。
さっき朝食代わりに出した牛乳で空っぽです。
Damn. No milk.
子供用の鎮静剤とか持ってるか？
A sedative to use on kids.
ほら、銀の粒みたいなやつとか。
Silver? What is he talking about?
持ってるわよ。ああ、今探して飲ませるから。
Without hiding her disbelief, Rosa grabbed the handbag that had been set on the sofa and fished around for some medicine. It seemed she had brought some child-use sedatives for Maria's tantrums. She found it and opened the bottle, but it must have been empty. Irritated, Rosa shook the bottle several times, but that didn't change the fact that nothing was in there. As she did that, Maria's crying grew even more intense. That time, Eva was laying on her bed, covered by the bedding. Alright. Weird, scene break we have here. Going over to see what Eva's doing, Hideyoshi returned from the washroom, folding a handkerchief soaked in water.
こら、ずいぶんひどい熱や。きっと、親族会議の毒気にやられてもうたんやな。
The poison in Beatrice's room kills anyone who enters. As Hideyoshi spoke to her kindly, he set the soaked handkerchief on Eva's burning forehead. Eva rested her own hand on top of it.
あなたの手、ひんやりして気持ちいい。
Little music box track.
気持ちいいようじゃ、だいぶ熱が出とるな。安心せい。すぐに薬が効いてくるわ。それにな、わしの手は魔法の手。
Magic! He's a witch too? Is there anyone here not a witch?
こうしてエヴァの額に手を当てとるとな、どんな熱も立ちどころに治ってしまうんや。
そうね。あなたの手で私の熱が引かなかったことは一度もないものね。
そうや、わしの手があれば医者いらずやで。安心して目をつむるんや。すぐにわしの魔法でぐんぐん熱が下がるからな。
うん、知ってる。あなたの魔法、感じるもの。
Hideyoshi was about to say it was just a placebo effect, but he stopped. If Eva said she could feel magic coming from his hand, then what? And that was fine for now.
魔法って本当にあるのかしら。
おお、あるで。信じる者にしかわからへんけどな。そういう魔法は案外世の中にたくさんあるもんや。
魔法が実在するなら、やっぱり魔女も実在するのかしら。
ん？森の魔女ベアトリーチェのことかいな。信じる者にはおるやろな。神様と同じや。信心深い人の前にしか姿を現さんのや。
私もね、昔魔法が使えたの。
Long ago, huh?
ほんまかいな。じゃあお前も魔女やったんやな。
私がね、絶対に叶えたい夢があって、それを強く願って努力すると、それが必ず叶ったの。
What are you
私は
talking
そ
about?
の魔法でいつも成績は一番だったし、
Okay.
生徒会長にだってなったし、入りたい大学にも実力で入れたし、いつだってどんな願いだって叶えてきたわ。
そうやな。お前の魔法はいつだって大したもんや。お前は確かに。
I was about to say everything except becoming the head, but I guess he kinda got that just now? Or earlier, I guess?
そして誰にも負けん努力家や。
She found the gold.
わしゃよう知っとるで。
供の頃からずっとずっと心の中にもう一人の自分がいて、いつも私を励ましてくれたの。
The me who believed in me.
そしてその自分は魔女だったわ。森の魔女ベアトリーチェなんて信じなかった。もし六軒島に魔女がいるとしたら、それは私の心の中の魔女のことだってずっと信じてきた。その魔女の自分にあなたに出会わせてくれてよかったなっていつも感謝してる。
病気の時のお前はいつも気弱すぎや。今は何も言わんで熱が下がるまでずーっとこうしてるからな。
絶対に手を離さないでね。なんだか私、自分が自分でなくなるような気がして、さっきから怖いの。私の中の魔女がベアトリーチェに触発されてどんどん強くなるような気がして、なんだか私を飲み込んでしまいそうな気がするの。
Oh no. Maybe the culprit did end up dying. And then now the new culprit's gonna straight up just be Eva. The gold's mine. No one could have it. Kill them all.
大丈夫や。
Agreed.
わしが一緒にいる限りなんも恐れることなんてあらへん。
Actually, wasn't there a small scene like that where the younger Eva, like before she became a witch, pretty much right before it, she didn't want to give any of the gold away? She said that. Young Eva witch might actually just straight up start killing them. Hmm. What do you think would have been worse? Eva as a witch or Rosa as a witch? Well, Rosa was already bad with just gun, dude.
ほら、ちょいとヤバめな国に旅行に行った時、バスごと強盗にあったことあったやろ。わしが撃退したんやで。
Drove them off.
金時計を渡して拝み倒しただけだったじゃない。かっこ悪いけど、かっこよかったわ。この手、絶対に離さないでね。眠っても絶対に離さないでね。そして何か不気味なものが忍び込んできても、
Damn, if only he had a scorpion charm.
私を守ってね。
おう、任せとかんかい。だから今は安心して眠るんやで。すぐに薬とわしの魔法が効いてくるからな。
Eva finally calmed her heart and closed her eyes. At that time, there was a sudden sound of a door being opened violently from the direction of the lobby. It seemed that Maria was having a tantrum. The screams of "woo woo" could be heard, along with Rosa's rebuking yells. That probably hurt Eva's ears, or maybe it was giving her a headache. Eva moaned as though in pain and buried herself in the covers. It was easy to guess what was happening. Maria had probably had a tantrum for gone down to the lobby and started arguing with Rosa, who had then scolded her daughter. And then, maybe that got too embarrassing to be shown in front of the other relatives, so Rosa had taken Maria out into the court. Hideyoshi had no desire to butt in on Rosa and Maria's problem, but just for now, since Eva's condition was so bad, he wanted them to take their ruckus somewhere else.
ちょいと待っとれや。静かにするようお願いしてくるわ。
早く戻ってきて。
大丈夫や。この部屋から出んて。
You're literally leaving the room to go talk to them. Hideyoshi removed a chain. A locked room chain? Opened the door and stuck his face out into a corridor. Okay, I guess he's not actually fully leaving. He immediately met Rosa's
大
gaze.
丈夫かいな、ローザさん。
ごめんなさい。うるさくして起こしちゃったかしら。
Yes, take it somewhere else.
リアちゃん、ごめんな。エヴァおばさんな、具合が悪くて寝とるんや。すまんが、ちょいと静かにしてもらえるか。
Maria's tone didn't change after Hideyoshi's request. She kept crying, ooh, ooh, and repeating my rose. Rosa slapped Maria's cheek, lifted her up while covering her mouth, and dragged her towards the entrance, trying to at least put some distance between her and Hideyoshi's room. She would still probably be noisy for a while, but he had warned Rosa for the time being. Relying on Rosa's actions as a mother, it's relying on that, what you just saw happen just now? Hideyoshi closed the door.
またマリアちゃんが泣いてるの？
そうみたいやな。ローザさんも大変や。それを思えば、うちのジョージはできすぎや。
George is so cool. At least he's not a Maria.
姉が感謝したいくらいやで。
そうね。
おお、すまんすまん。ほら、魔法の手やで。
Put his hand on Eva's forehead again. See, there really was magical power in that hand. A really peaceful look rose to Eva's face, and bit by bit she began to drift off into the land of sleep. As he had promised, Hideyoshi kept his hand on her forehead. Full of magic. Alright, back to these two. Sad music. Oh boy, alright. By the entrance, with her hand still against Maria's mouth, Rosa was at a loss at what to do next. She hadn't been able to withstand everyone's gazes in the lobby, and she had yelled at the children to go upstairs, dashing out of the lobby. It sounded a bit weird the way the sentence was structured. Then she had gone out into the corridor, only to have Hideyoshi say that she was... Where should I go now? Where should I take this child who's having a tantrum? He felt as though tears of frustration were about to come out. Maria kept on struggling in an attempt to scream. Rosa put her mouth up to Maria's ear, tried to persuade Maria in a properly calm voice.
マリアはそんなにもバラが見たいのね。
Maria nodded her head several times, moaning, ooh, ooh.
どうしてそんなにバラが見たいの？お母さんが聞いてあげるから静かに話して。叫んだら殴るわよ。マリアのバラ。
Slightly more proper, at least, I guess.
ベアトリーチェに蘇らせてもらったの。また折れちゃってるかも。マリアはそれが心配。確かめないと眠れない。
Apparently, she was still upset about that marked rose from yesterday. Rosa felt her headache throbbing again. But she was at least a little relieved that Maria now stopped her screaming.
とにかく今はみんな大変なの。だからママたちに迷惑をかけないで。バラの話は明日雨が上がったら好きにしていいから。だから今は聞き分けなさい。やだやだやだやだやだ。マリアのベアトリーチェのバラ。
And there it goes. Rosa reflexively covered Maria's mouth. She had spoken a little too harshly and got her agitated again. Rosa realized that it was partly her own fault and clicked her tongue in self-hatred. Maria thought that was directed at her, and her crying grew even fiercer.
お願いだから静かにして。どうしたらあなたは泣き止むの？どうしたらあなたはママの言うことを聞いてくれるの？
Oh? Suddenly. Maria stopped crying so fast that it seemed unnatural. And she turned around and muttered.
マリアのバラを見たら、ちゃんと明日まで静かにしてるよ。
So, what was with this incredibly sudden change?
本当？うん。バラ庭園に行って、マリアのバラを見たら、もうおとなしくする。本当だよ、ママ。
It's... Something isn't right. If it would keep Maria quiet for the time being, Rosa thought that even going out in this wind and rain would be a small price to pay. She thought it might be a bit reckless. In the end, no murder or anything of the sort have actually occurred. All that clamor since the morning had been a farce set up by Kinzo. Right, they both, like, fooled themselves into thinking that this was all, like, just an act. Just a prank. I just had, forgotten that they all went through that. There's no way that Maria and Rosa would be the two who are close this time, right? At the same time, I don't think it would be like Hideyoshi and Eva again. Could be Cross and Natsui. I could see Kirei and Rudolph. But I just can't see Maria and Rosa being used for the second Twilight. But by the way things are going, it wouldn't surprise me right about now. They do, but that was only really, like, at the end where she finally got it. We reround things again, and I don't know, I guess we'll see what happens. All that clamor since morning had been a farce set up by Kinzo. If you carefully thought about that chain of closed rooms, it clearly had to all be an act.
本当にバラを見たらもうおとなしくする？
Oh, give me a sec. Why isn't plugged in? Did I plug it in the wrong way? Oh, I guess I did. Unless... Oh no, maybe this wire is going. It is! Oh, that's... Sucks! Lightning cables suck, dude. Alright, that's probably good. Right? Yeah. You're just completely fucked in the head. Yeah. True. Where were we? You ought to be act. You really listen if you get to see the rules.
うん、本当だよママ。
Yeah, okay, she snapped into her witch mode. Either that or it's a witch possessing her. But which one? Like 5 now. Oh, smack. Rosa didn't overlook that creepy laugh and lightly hit Maria with her fist. Lightly? With her fist? And she shrugged, as though giving up.
わかったわ。一目見たら納得するのよ。いいわね。うん、ママ。約束する。
Surprised he didn't smack her again after that. Once again, Rosa tested the weight of her gun. It'll be okay. It's only an act. Never a murder on this island in the first place.
くそ待てよローザおばさんローザおばさんとマリアが第二の番の犠牲者なのか
But I was kind of starting to think, I wasn't too sure, but...
くそくそくそ誰か気づけよ呼び止めろ今の親父たちや俺たちは何をしてるんだ
ロ
Indeed.
ーザ親子の痛々しい関係に気を使ってわざわざ話題を変えておるぞ。そなたらも2階へ上がりテレビを見ながら話題を変えておる。
くそったれ誰か気づけよ一番近くにいるのは誰だよ秀吉おじさんか頼むよ玄関から2人が出ていくのを気づいてくれよ
Oh man.
届かん届かん。
screaming at characters in a TV show. They'll never hear.
ささやかな時間を邪魔してくれるな。
Beatrice is enjoying this. But if she kept talking kindly, his hand on Eva's forehead, he didn't notice at all that Rose and Maria were going outside through the front door. In that case, there was no way the others in the lobby, which was even further away, would notice. Much less those in the cousin's room on the second floor.
そなたは何を慌てておるのか。第一の番にて、犯人は事故死したとの大胆な察してにて、わらわを打ち破ったではないか。ならばもう、この島に犯人はおらぬことになるぞ。何を心配する必要があるというのか。
Everyone? All the adults in the lobby. Kids in the second floor. Ria Rosa. Going out to the rose garden. Nanjo's probably also with the... But he sticks with them out of the way of the others. The relatives. Then who was killer? Who will be killer this time? Unless one of the servants was faking it. No, Nanjo definitely confirmed they were all dead though, right? Unless he's in on it. No, freaking Beatrice herself confirmed that they were all actually fully dead. With the red text. Got no ideas then.
うるせえよ、しらしらしいんだよ。誰か引き止めろ。二人が殺されるんだ。誰か止めろ。
Ow, howdy darn. There's no way that Balor's voiceless scream would reach Rosa or Maria. Two of them could be seen in the rose garden. The rain was still awful, but fortunately the wind had died down a little. Oh, maybe that wasn't fortunate, because maybe if the wind had been a little fiercer, Rosa might have hesitated to go outside. Find your rose yet? Maria found her rose with the gold lace and stared at it lovingly. Rosa had accepted the promise under the condition that Maria would only get one look at it, but she didn't want Maria to complain that it hadn't been enough later on. So she decided to go along with Maria until she was satisfied. She believed there wasn't a culprit, but on the off chance that she was mistaken, they were now in an extremely dangerous position. You don't say. Rosa realized that faintly. If things got bad, she would throw away her umbrella and ready her gun. After glancing at Maria's innocent happiness, Rosa gazed warily in all directions. Butterflies. But which witch? Were her eyes just tired? Even though no one should have been there, she thought she saw something glitter in the dark rose. Gold-colored? It had to be her imagination, because to Rosa, it seemed as though gold butterflies were dancing through the rose bushes. Should have taken that nap. Seeing things.
大丈夫かエヴァ、無理せんでやっぱり南條先生を呼んでこんか。
大丈夫だから。この手を離さないで。お願いだから。離さないで。
Eva was breathing wildly. Beads of sweat were appearing on her forehead. It certainly was true that she had stayed up all night last night, and that things had been rough since this morning. It wasn't odd that her body wasn't keeping up. Though he understood that, Hideyoshi suspected that this sudden fever was the sign of some serious illness. Several times Hideyoshi decided to call for Dr. Nanjo, but Eva resisted firmly. pleading with him and saying that it was even more important that he didn't take his hand away.
分かった。でもな、お昼になったら必ず南條先生に見てもらうんやで。それを約束できるならずっとここにいてこうして来やがったな。
ありがとう。大丈夫よ。あなたの手の魔法で必ずこんな熱なんか。
It's called Nanja. It'll only take like a minute, dude. He's in the same building. Even as she said that, Eva's harsh breathing didn't improve in the slightest.
離さないで。離さないで。
Holy. Just straight up die here?
誰？
She saw an umbrella moving from beyond the rose bush. Rosa threw away her umbrella and wildly lifted her gun. She did. The shadow of a person beyond the bush showed itself.
ふーん。
Eva
エヴァ
Beatrice.
おばさん。ふん。
Oh, it actually is?
びっくりしたわ。姉さんなの？何かご用？さっきの話の続きなの？
Oh?
ええ、そうよ。
This is Eva Beatrice disguising herself as the older one, isn't it?
お父様の黄金の話よ。
お願いだからマリアの前では遠慮して。ちゃんと約束は守ってるわよ。姉さんの悪巧みの邪魔はしないわ。
悪巧み？何それ？
姉さんが何を考えていても勝手よ。
Eva all over the place? Oh no.
私は邪魔する気なんてない。だからマリアの前では許して。私は分け前さえもらえれば十分なの。
分け前？
There, the deal has been changed. The soundboard! Eva started laughing in a creepy voice. Rosa was startled, but Maria stared blankly. Then Maria just said one thing. Beatrice!
ほーん。おばさん、誰？
Wild laugh. Is it a little lower than usual? Game volume? In a couple notches. I don't think I changed it.
誰がお前にやるものか。あれはすべて私のもの。この黄金の魔女ベアトリーチェのものよ。
Meanwhile, the real Eva is fucking actually dying.
エヴァ、大丈夫かエヴァ。
Bring it up because you like her laughs. I see.
エヴァ、エヴァ。
逃げていて。離さないで。私じゃない誰かに連れ去られないように。
Did I never found the gold?
私の手を握っていて。離さないで。
Holy.
お前が何を努力したの？何も努力してない。いつも私たちの影に隠れてのらりくらり。いつも戦わずに影から影へと逃げ回っていたお前に、後ろ宮家の黄金を無心する資格など本当にあると思ってるの？あれは全て私のもの。 後ろ宮家当主にして新しき黄金の魔女ベアトリーチェの名を継承した私だけのもの。
We rest in chapter 7 to weird her out.
ベアトリーチェ。ベアトリーチェだ。ママ、ベアトリーチェ。
Maria jumped at her mother in ecstasy. Rosa treated Maria cold-heartedly and raised her gun high.
姉さんよね。姉さんなのよね。
違うわ。私はもはやあなたの姉であった存在ではないの。
じゃあ、あんた誰なのよ。ベアトリーチェだとでも言うの？そんなはずはない。あんたは19年前に死んだのよ。ええ、確かに死んでいたわ。だって私、あなたの頭が割れているところをはっきり見たもの。
Let open, oh.
その中身が溢れ出しているのを昨日のことのように思い出せる。そのあんたがどうして生きてここにいるのよ。
黄金の魔女に死の概念などないの。黄金の魔女とベアトリーチェの名は永遠に受け継がれてゆくわ。お前が知っていたベアトリーチェは死を迎えたかもしれないが、今やそれは私の名である。ゆえに無限。ベアトリーチェに死の概念はないの。
Alright, blaster.
あの黄金に気が触れたとしか思えない。哀れね、姉さん。
How does she still think this is like normal Eva when she clearly looks younger?
もはや私はお前の姉ではないというのに。さて、新しきベアトリーチェとして自らの復活の儀式を引き継ぐわ。ロノウェ、私はどうすればいいの？
ご随意のまま。もはやベアトリーチェ様にはどのような思いも実現できる力がおありです。少し扱えばなれるでしょう。
不甲斐なき元妹よ。私が魔女として初めて捧げる最初の生贄に選ばれたことを光栄に思うがいい。第2の番に寄り添う二人を私がこの手で引き裂く。
Ooh. For music? First thing the new Beatrice wished for, no, the first magic she tried to use, was to surpass the limitations given to humans. In particular, gravity. She wanted to become fully aware of her transformation into a witch by being released from those shackles and start flying. As the witch and Rosa stayed as they were, the ground retreated all by itself into the distance below them. By now, their feet were no longer attached to the ground. Rosa finally realized that the earth wasn't retreating into the distance below them, but that she and the witch were being sucked up into the rainy sky. Explain this one, Battler! Oh! He has a very good, like, evil grin here, dude. For a human shackled to the ground by gravity, there is nothing more unnerving than having their feet stop sticking to the ground. However, to Beatrice, who, in becoming a new witch, had learned the joy of being released from gravity, it was enough to make her whole body shake with delight.
ねえローザ、昔小さい頃魔女になって空が飛べたらなって話したことあるの覚えてる？叶ったよ。私が本当の魔女になって叶えてあげたわ。
やめてよ。夢なら覚めて。
あなた言ったわ。夢の中で空を飛んだって。そして覚めたくなかったとも言ったわ。起こした私を恨んだともね。安心して、今度は覚めないわよ。
I can't tell who's going to be more messed up. Normal Beatrice, the one we knew, or this New Eva Beatrice we have. Come, dance with me in the vast, rainy sky. Didn't we both wish we could fly like seagulls in the sky? Seagulls. And escape the cramped and boring island of Rokkenjima? Now, I'll make that dream a reality for you. I only want to share this joy with you, and no one else. Then oops, I accidentally turned on gravity again. Down you go.
楽しいねローザ楽しいね見てごらん眼下を私たちのお屋敷ってあんなにも小さいわあんな小さな場所で私たちはどれほどの長い時を過ごしたのかしらその狭さとちっぽけさに今こそ本当に呆れるわだからこそ感じて楽しんで喜んで私たちが憧れた大空を自由にする力をさあ踊ろうよローザ雨の中を風の中を私たちは踊るように飛び回ろう稲光が私たちを照らして祝福してくれるわ
The witch and Rosa were like leaves floating around in a whirlwind. As the rain pounded upon every part of their bodies, as the lightning occasionally shone upon them, they shook with the joy of being released from the ground. However, it was only that way for the witch. Rosa was holding on to her head, voicelessly screaming over and over. A slightly displeased expression rose to the witch's face when she realized that her own joy was not being shared. Then she decided to listen to her former sister's request. Down she goes. The whirlwind that had been making Rosa dance around grew weaker, then stopped. In other words, Rosa was once again bound by the restrictions of gravity as a human. Following the laws that were originally correct, Rosa began to descend towards the ground, upside down. Oh, she began to fall. Oops, he says. Which hadn't intended to send Rosa plummeting, but she still wasn't used to using magic. After plummeting about 100 meters into a rose bush, as a very, very natural result, Rosa died instantly. Well, at least it was instant, I guess. But the witch hadn't intended to kill her, so she wished that Rosa hadn't died. Oh, alright. But she did, gold butterflies coiled around Rosa's body, reviving that life just as the witch had wished. Alright, welcome back. Rosa's body, which should have been spread out like a carpet of fresh blood, rapidly to return to normal. What does Marie have to say about all this? The broken and crushed bones return to normal. The torn and smashed flesh return to normal. How easy it is to break things in this world, and how difficult it is to fix them. Anyone can take a life, but no human can revive a lost life. By surpassing the irreversible, one proves they have surpassed humanity. This surely gave her a much, much greater realization of her position as a witch than flying through the sky had.
もちろんですとも。
Oh no, you can fly too.
ベアトリーチェ
Of course you
様は
can.
すでに無限の魔女であらせられますよ。生きることも死すことも生かすことも殺すことも全ては無限に繰り返される。その輪廻を支配する女王こそが無限の魔女であられるベアトリーチェ様。
金魚鉢を落としたことがあるわ。涼しげな美しい鉢が割れてしまって二度と元に戻らなかった。床に叩きつけられた可愛いデメキンは二度と泳ぐ姿を見せてくれなかった。
Or you couldn't quickly put the fish in like a cup or something?
壊れたものと死んだものは蘇らせられないと首を横に振ったっけ。あの時学んだのよね。物は壊しちゃいけない、人は殺しちゃいけないって。だって直せないんだもん。
And now she's gonna think the opposite now? Just because she's a witch?
直せるなら壊しても怒られないということでしょ。
She instantly became deranged. Oh, even more so than she was earlier. Holy. For a while, the witch became intoxicated with how terrible and wonderful the power she had inherited was. Her life was pure, innocent, and cruel. Even though Rosa had been revived, she let out a cry of anguish at the pain from her fall. At that point, the witch landed and held out her hand.
すまないわね、ローザ。空を飛ぶのがこんなに楽しいとは思わなかったわ。ごめんなさい。本当にごめんなさい。そして人間がこんなにもろく死ぬとも知らなかったの。でも生き返らせてあげたからもう平気。だから起きて。私ともっと遊びましょう。
Absolutely fucking deranged. Man, I think she might actually be worse than Beto. Rosa was bad. Eva's worse than that, especially with magic. Rosa probably would have been just at, well, maybe not. Maybe Rosa, if she like obtained this magic power, wouldn't have been this bad, because Eva's been so completely infatuated with wanting to become like the head of the family, just wanting pretty much everything. Insane amount of greed in her. What were those dreams you told me about when you were a kid? Go ahead and tell me all of them without holding back. As I am now, I can make anything come true, no matter how absurd. Even drowning you in a sea of jelly. Even having you get sucked into a mountain of cake. I can even make you sprout butterfly wings and flit about in the garden, okay? I'll do them one after another. Let's start with the ocean of jelly, alright? Just like that, jelly was once again thrown high into the rainy sky. However, the sky wasn't filled with raindrops, but with drops of orange juice. When she looked down, Rosa had to doubt her eyes. The rose garden had disappeared, and the ground spread out beneath her was like a pastel-colored jigsaw puzzle. It was an ocean of jelly, like the one she had spoken of from her dreams when she was young. The black part was coffee jelly. The red was strawberry. Coffee jelly? I don't know. I've never been too fond of anything coffee tasting that wasn't just normal coffee. Coffee flavored things always tasted wrong to me. I never liked it. The yellow was pineapple. The green was melon. What's the white part? Apple? Did Rosa even have a time to think stuff like that? Rosa fell towards that multicolored ocean. And she sunk deep into a purple grape-flavored sea. It really was an ocean of jelly. It had no bottom. As Rosa sank, she was shocked to see a school of transparent fish swimming through the grape jelly ocean. They were probably made of grape skin. Then she sunk on and on, deeper and deeper, as deep as the Mariana Trench, crushed by the water pressure of the jelly ocean. As her ribs snapped, as her spine snapped, in the end she became a small, frail meatball.
ジェリーの海で溺れ死ねるなんて本当に素敵な体験よね。誰にも真似できない夢、私が叶えてあげた。
The instant I snapped my fingers, the meatball that had been Rosa was launched up into the sky. And after being wrapped in a golden sparkle, she returned to her original form. It was as simple and as easy as returning dried seaweed to its original form, and anyone could do it. If they were a witch, the absent-minded look on Rosa's face had to be the joy from having that dream she gave up on as a child come true. Definitely. Probably. Next is the mountain cake. In an instant, the sky was covered and became black and white in the shape of a chessboard. That almost transparent white part was her favorite rare cheese. The elegant black part was slightly bitter cacao chocolat. That became the ceiling, became a mountain, and several billion cakes were thrown towards Rosa. If you piled those cakes up, they would surely be taller than Mount Everest. So they probably weighed as much as Mount Everest. I'm not too sure, but I'll bet it was heavier than all the cakes across Japan put together. Crushed her flat under cakes this time, I guess. Holy. Ah, yeah, there it is. It fell down like a ceiling and swallowed Rosa up. So as a very, very natural result, Rosa was crushed to death. In less than a second, her bones broke through her body and her insides were all smashed and forced out. Squish, pop, plop. Even so, an even greater number of cakes piled on top, and Rosa ended up as a layer of jam wedged between them. She became as thin as a single hair and was probably spread out over the area of a tennis court. The world swallowed up by cake was once again absorbed by a gold flesh. And, as though it had all been a dream, Rosa was revived once again. Of course, it definitely wasn't a dream. It had been revived after dying. By that point, death, which most humans only have to experience once after they are born, had already been experienced repeatedly by Rosa. In other words, she'd gone through that which humans cannot. The precious experience of dying more than once. 'What a messed up fate Rosa had here. Laughing innocently, she pointed her gold staff at Rosa. She begged for mercy. When she did, Rosa glittered gold and rapidly began to shrink. She shrank down to the size of a real butterfly. Then gold wings sprouted from her back, and she joined her fellow gold butterfly. However, while a human body could withstand that wind, it was different matter for a butterfly's body. The gold butterfly Rosa was invited to dance by each gale of wind, and she spun in circles around the rose garden. As her dance wore her out, she was caught by a gentle bag. It was soft. It was a soft knit hammock in the shadows beneath the roof of the arbor. No, that's a spider web actually, isn't it? The owner of that hammock lumbered into view, welcoming its rare guest who had wandered in on the night of a storm. That owner, which should have been small enough to crush in the palm of her hand, now looked as big as the top of a canopy bed to Rosa. Ah, there it is.
今度は雲とダンスなのね。懐かしいわね。クモの巣を見つけては石粒を投げつけて遊んだの。クモって獲物をかじるんじゃなくて毒液を刺して中身をドロドロのスープに溶かしてからすするんだって聞いたことがあるわ。ねえローザ覚えてる？わざと蝶々をクモの巣に放ってどうクモが襲うか眺めて遊んでた時のこと覚えてる？
That kind of messed up kids. They both were apparently.
覚えてないわね。あなた小学校に上がる前だったと思うもの。今度はよく見れるわよ。しげしげとね。いや、許して姉さん。助けて姉さん。
Very nice spelling of all this. She goes again.
あいつやるな。実に自由に魔法を使いこなす。
Alright, Battler, how do you feel seeing all this?
面白い面白い面白い面白い。バトラも笑えるだろ
ふざけんな。もう止めろ。何が楽しいんだよ。おかしい。てめえおかしいぞ。こんなことをして何が楽しいってんだ。
あんなに楽しそうじゃないかよ。無理もない。魔法は楽しいもんな。思い出すよ。わらわも魔法が使えるようになった時はすっごくはしゃいだもんさ。わかるぜわかるぜ。あのはしゃぎっぷりが心の底からわかるさ。この喜びや感動、バートラには共感できないんだろうな。ああ、残念残念。バトラだってわらわを認めればいつだって魔法を教えてやるぞ。
Oh, Battler being able to use magic?
人間の束縛を逃れた瞬間の喜びは筆舌に尽くしがたい。そなたに教えてやりたいよ。あの喜び、あの感動。そなたの生み出す魔法の世界もぜひ一度見てみたいものだ。
Battler wouldn't do anything like this.
楽しくなってきただろう。魔法が使いたくなってきただろう。魔女もなかなかに楽しいものであるぞ。そなたには特別に教えてやる。一緒に空を飛ぶ喜びとか、一緒に海を潜る喜びとか、人間の制約を超えた瞬間に知る世界がどれほどに広かったのかという感動をそなたにも教えてやる。そしたら楽しいだろうな。
There was no malice in Bethel's expression. It was hard to believe, but she was genuinely enjoying this cruel show. She wanted to share that appreciation with Battler. Battler was shocked by that hopelessly different sense of values.
信じられねえ。もうやめろ。チクショー。ワルギリア、このおかしな茶番を止めさせるんだ。どうすりゃいいんだ。
私たちは番外の存在です。
All we can do is
万
watch.
全には触れられません。
Berto shook her head apologetically. Her body had already been killed. Did that mean she couldn't interfere in any way? As Beatrice continued to look amused in an insane sort of way, Battler lifted her up by the collar and yelled at her.
やめろやめろやめろいい加減にしろ魔女めあれがエヴァおばさんだってのかありえない俺の知ってるエヴァおばさんは確かに意地悪なとこも少しはあったけど
Only a bit?
こんな残酷なことをする人じゃ断じてありえない全てお前のまやかしだローザおばさんをもてあそぶなエヴァおばさんをもてあそぶな今すぐこの茶番を止めさせろ
だからローザと遊んでいるのはもうわらわではないというに、新しきベアトリーチェだというに、そんなにギャーギャーわめくほどに残酷か？そなたもこういうの実は結構好きだろうが、実はちょっぴり魔法に興味を持ってきて。
Just smack her?
何をする？
For the first time, Battler slapped Beto's cheek. Holy. Based? Beatrice didn't know why he had done something like that to her, and a surprised expression rose to her face. Battler especially couldn't forgive that expression, and he roared. Oh. Insane portrait.
これが面白いだお前の頭はどうなってんだ死ね頭を輪切りにしててめえで覗いてみろ絶対に中身がごっそり抜けてるぜ今すぐやめさせろこの悪趣味な茶番をやめさせるんだ俺はお前を許さないよくもこんな残酷なことをお前のことを少しでも笑えるやつだと思ったこともあったが俺はもうお前はただ残酷なだけの怪
I
物
already
だ
skipped that last line. Sometimes thought you could be a bit funny, but I'll never make that mistake again. Just a monster who's cruel on all levels.
俺の前に現れるな
Abusing a woman? But Kinzo Kraus would be so proud. It must be Kinzo's blood in him. Running strong.
二度とだお前を認めないお前と話さないお前の顔など見たくもない聞こえたか俺の前に現れるなお前なんか消えてしまえ
Oh, barrier? The instant Battler screamed, the power that resisted the witch became a red wall and knocked Beto back onto her butt. He can summon the field too?
なんだというのだ。面白い見物ではないかよ。
He spoke defensively, but the target of those words, Battler, was no longer there. His figure had suddenly disappeared into the darkness. But Beatrice looked displeased and continued trying to explain herself.
いや、確かにちょっとあれかなとは思うが、こんなの無邪気ないたずら程度であろう。
It's innocent.
どう殺そうが、結局は生き返らせておるではないか。人間は終わりさえ良ければ何でも良い生き物ではなかったのか。のう、お師匠様。そこまでへそを曲げられるものでもあるまいに。
Well, she didn't respond. She was hoping for approval, but Vergelia simply faced her with an indifferent expression. To Beto, at that moment, even an exasperated look would probably have been better.
私から特に言うことはありません。あなたが楽しいと思うならいつまでも見続けていると良いでしょう。
Ooh.
終わったら呼びなさい。それまで私も姿を消します。
I like Virgil. She's based. Following Battler's lead, Vergelia vanished into the darkness. Beto, who was now completely isolated and didn't have a clue what was going on, felt like they were making her out to be the bad guy. Wow, I wonder why.
なんだよ。面白いショーじゃないかよ。ちょっとは悪趣味かもしれないけど、割と面白いじゃないかよ。
Just a little ogre.
なあ、ロノウェ。そこま で怒るほどじゃないよな。
お嬢様の面白いが、バトラ様にも面白いとは限りません。
わらわはそんなにも嫌われたのか。
Is this really Beatrice? Does he really hate me? His whole existence here is denying you. What do you mean?
そりゃ確かに対戦相手だから敵同士ではあるが、妥協笑い合いのほどわらわたちは不仲だというのか。
What relationship?
バトラと一緒に拍手できたように一緒にゲラゲラ笑い合えると思ったのに。
Just killing his family, bro. What's his problem? We clapped together and had that one moment. I thought we were best friends.
程度のことすらわらわは拒絶されるというのかよ。魔女だと認めぬのはいいさ。それを競い合うゲームなんだから。でもよ、顔も見ない、話もしない。
Get those tears out of here.
無視はいくらなんでもないだろう。わらわはそんなにも嫌われ者なのかよ。
Yes.
これまでお嬢様は十分に嫌われるだけの指し手をいたしました。悪魔の私でさえバトラ様の気持ちが少しはわかろうというもの。
Thank you, Renov. You were still based.
それが理解できぬのはお嬢様が特に鈍感が過ぎるのではないかと。
It's that. I love him. He's so cool.
うるさいうるさいうるさいうるさい。お前も消えてしまえ。
はい、かしこまりました。
Alright, see ya.
それでは失礼いたします。
Renov hid himself into darkness, and Beatrice was left alone. The only one in the rainy rose garden. No one ever plays with a lonely witch, and the fact that no one ever does is what makes him a lonely witch.
なんだよ、なんでわらわと誰も遊んでくれないんだよ。そんなにわらわは変かよ。残酷かよ。
Why is this upsetting you this much now?
誰か返事しろよ。
Oh, and they're still continuing this. I see.
次は何をして遊ぶ？もちろんマリアも一緒に遊んであげるわ。みんなで仲良くお散歩しよう。煮えたぎるチョコレートの鍋を泳いでケーキ膨らむオーブンの中をピクニックしよう。
Why does she think this way?
No、新しきベアトリーチェ。
Behind a witch that was continuing her mad banquet, Beto showed herself. That expression was very rare for her. It was somehow restrained, unreliable, miserable.
これは仙台ベアトリーチェ様、ご覧くださりましたか？魔法の力は本当に素晴らしい。魔女に生まれ変わることができたことを今ほど楽しいと思ったことはありません。まるでいつまでも終わらぬお遊戯の時間のよう。さあ、仙台様もご一緒に遊びましょう。その前にちょっとお待ちになってくださいね。二人はオーブンの中で焼け焦げて死んでしまったからまた蘇
It's
られ
both of them. Alright, so she didn't leave Maria out of this.
まるでイーストで膨れるパンみたいに、オーブンの中で膨れるクッキーみたいに。
Wonder if Maria still thinks witches are cool after what just happened to her now.
話を聞けというのに。そのだな、第二の番の生贄にはもう十分であろう。確かに殺し方については指定がないが、それ以上もてあそぶことはあるまいに。
しゃいます先代様。さっきロマウェイから聞きましたよ。先代様の魔法はもっともっと素敵で残酷でやりたい放題だったって。
Yeah, but she kind of also only ever killed him once. If you don't count the tea room thing with Rosa, anyway.
6人のお腹からお菓子が溢れ出すハロウィンパーティーなんて本当に素敵。ならば私はアリスのお茶会を演出しようかしら。なんでもない日を祝うお茶会にみんなを招待して、私が魔法で次々おもてなしするの。先代様みたいに素敵にできるかしら。個性的に残酷にポップにキュートにできるかしら。
Yes. What a
今思う
face.
とおとぎ話とかってどれも残酷でしたよね。そのおとぎ話の魔女に自らがなってみて、ようやく理解しました。
Oh man. Should have made the freaking epitaph maybe a bit harder.
わらわもその以前までのは少しやりすぎたかなと少しは思っておるのだ。まあ黄金の魔女たるもの、少しは気品があっても良いかと思うな。
先代様が何をおっしゃってるのかわかりません。でも一つだけわかります。今の私がどれほどを尽くしても先代様の残酷さには到底及びません。もっともっと頑張らなくちゃ。もっと残酷になって立派な黄金の魔女にならなくちゃ。
だからそれはもう十分だというに。とにかくわらわの先代としての命令だ。
An order.
第2の番はもう十分だ。わらわが少し手本を見せる。下がって見ておれ。
はい、先代様。
Oh, I thought for sure Eva was gonna be mad at her saying it was an order.
どんな無残で残酷でおぞましい殺し方を見せてくれるのか楽しみです。
The new witch grasped the sides of her skirt and gave a graceful bow, stepping back as an elegant gaze rose to her face. She was expecting an even more cruel magic that had surpassed even herself.
まあそうだな。そういう殺し方しかできないうちは半人前なのだ。わらわが上品な黄金の魔女らしい殺し方を見せようぞ。
When Beto waved her pipe, 7 colors of smoke poured out, reviving Rosa and Maria. Compared to how the new Beatrice had done it a short while ago, it was slightly gentler. It was probably gentler than how Beto had done it herself up until now. Rosa's consciousness had already grown dim from the pain of so many repeated deaths, but even so, she pleaded that her daughter be spared.
許して、せめてマリアだけでも許して。
Oof.
我が弟子が少し羽目を外しすぎた。
For a bit.
ベアトリーチェ。
When Maria realized it was the real Beatrice, she jumped onto her.
ベアとは約束したよね。マリアを黄金島へ連れてってくれるって約束したよね。そこではママとも仲良しになれてみんなずっと笑い合えるの。そこへ連れて行ってくれるって約束してくれたよね。
そうだな。その約束はもう守れぬ。碑文の謎を解く者が現れたから。わらわはもう黄金の魔女ベアトリーチェではないのだ。
Completely shatter Maria's dream here.
だからすまぬ。そなたとの約束はもう守れぬ。
なんで、どうしてベアとは約束してくれた。
すまぬ。本当にすまぬ。
Give you a quiet sleep that will never be disturbed again. Beto embraced Maria with a loving expression on her face. Then softly, a red bruise appeared on Maria's neck. It was a very gentle bruise. Its redness grew bit by bit, and when it distinctly formed itself into the shape of a hand, Maria's neck tilted suddenly, peacefully, as though she had fallen asleep.
マリア。すまない。そなたが第二の番の生贄であることは謝らぬ。そういう運命なのだから。しかし、その捧げ方が悪趣味であったことは謝らねばならぬ。
The less damage Rosa ever did.
これが最後の夢。もう二度と妨げられることはない。
Kato softly, gently lifted her finger, as though touching the empty air in front of her nose. When she did, a light breeze lifted up, making Rosa's body dance lightly like a feather. Then Rosa's body floated softly. And right there was the garden fence, with its spear-like prongs. Oh. Impaling her on that? The spear of the fence pierced Rosa's medulla oblongata. Benevolently, without toying with her, in a single blow, Rosa's life was snapped out. Compared to the earlier, innocent yet cruel events, it seemed to be over much too fast. It just looked like a doll shaped like Rosa was leaning against the fence. But she had passed away. Oh, you see Maria there too.
まあ、ざっとこんなものよ。
Eva's gonna be upset that that wasn't cruel or anything, is she? Fido acted proud, but the new witch wore a blank expression, almost as though this was an anticlimax. Yeah, and she said it out loud.
なんだか地味です。ロノウェイに聞いていた先代様のそれとは随分違います。
そのだな。魔法は上品に使わねばな。あまり品がないのはエレガントではないのだ。
せっかく素敵なことが無限にできる魔法なのにつまらない。
これ愚痴るでない。黄金の魔女の道は一日にしてならずだ。そなたとて第10の番を終えるまでは半人前よ。今は黙ってわらわの指導に従うのだ。よいな。返事はどうした？返事は。
はーい。
それでよい、それで。まあ、まだ復活の儀式の先は長いぞ。あと5人も殺さねばならないからな。あまりもてあそばずに、きれいに、上品に。少しあっさりめでいいからな。ロノウェがそなたに教えたわらわのやり方は、悪い例だ。模範にしてはならぬ。よく心に刻んでおけ。
はい、先代様。
良い返事だ。ロノウェ、煉獄の七姉妹よ。いでよ。
はい、お嬢様、ロの上、ここに。
傲慢のルシファー、ここに。これまではだな。わらわもいろいろ派手にやってきたわけだが、まあ、黄金の魔女としての威厳も大事であり。
She only starting to change now because she wants Battler to like her again. Look, I'm not killing them in weird, cruel ways anymore. I'm being nicer about it.
だな。
As Renaud laughed at Beto's uncharacteristically flustered speech, he summed it up for her.
かしこまりました。以後は黄金の魔女の名にふさわしい気品に気をつけるようにいたします。煉獄の七姉妹もこれまでのような悪ふざけは改め、以後は最短の手順で任務を遂行するように。ということでよろしいですか、お嬢様。
うん。つまりはそういうことだ。みんな、肝に銘じよ。良いな。
はい、かしこまりました。
わらわが言いたいのは以上。もう引き上げてよいぞ。
かしこまりました。それでは失礼いたします。
失礼いたします。
わらわが言いたいのはそれだけだ。それでは引き続きしっかりな。黄金の魔女らしく貫禄を持って、自重気味にな。頑張るがよいぞ。そなたを見守っておる。
I wonder if the ceremony doesn't go completely, doesn't like finish rather. Would she be stripped of her witch powers then? Apparently she's incomplete. Hmm. And I wonder if the ceremony actually will end up completing. This Beatrice doesn't seem to, or I guess Eva Beatrice doesn't seem to care too much about it. Just wants to have fun in her weird, cruel way. Acting awkwardly till the very end, Beto left that message and immediately became a cloud of gold butterflies, hiding her form in the empty air. Maybe it'd be more accurate to say she vanished in a hurry because she couldn't keep up the conversation. After that, all that remained was Maria's corpse, lying down and pounded by the rain. Rosa's corpse, propped up by the fence and staring up at the sky. And the figure of the witch. Her expression looked just a little bored. There was a popping sound. It was probably her clicking her tongue. Away she goes. Leaving that last sentence behind, she once again vanished into the empty air. What a interesting scene. Absolutely absurd. Holy. Beto's taking Ella's controller and finishing the level for her too. Despite Beto doing it, it's Evatrice super in the fighting game. What, the Rage Impalement? Defense thing, yeah. Funner fact, Battler Super is groping people. I hope that one's true. It sounds like it could be. Anyway, quick save. Ugh. Take a short break to stretch my legs and whatnot, and then we'll continue up until the next scene break, I think. Not quite 2-hour mark yet, but... Close enough to it. Don't know when the next scene break will be anyway. Oh, quick BRB. Be back in like 5 minutes. 5-10 minutes. Okay. Oh. Ugh. Continue for at least a couple more hours. Maybe I will play a bit more tomorrow as well. Either that or I don't know what else we got. Wow, let's talk down a bit. Or we could turn it off. Either that or I don't even really know what else we got. I could just stream as I go through Deltarune again on the normal route, preparing myself for what is probably going to be the hardest fight in all of the chapters so far. Back to that. I mean, what else is there? I did say I could try playing 100 line stream, at least a bit, maybe a one-off or something. Could do that. That could be fun. It's been a while. It's been probably a couple weeks now. Maybe not a couple weeks. Maybe at least a week. I'll ask to mess with it. I know, a lot to do, a lot to do. By a lot, I mean... I wish I wasn't so indecisive about a lot of things, dude. In any case, let's continue. Just, Battler's upset. He fucking disappeared somehow, didn't want to look at Beatrice anymore. That upset Beatrice, trying to make Eva be more... be a bit nicer, less cruel, but that doesn't seem like it's gonna work. He thinks that's too boring. And now... we're just here, I guess. I guess real Eva's asleep. Who did the murders? If Eva's here, Hideyoshi's here. Is there actually a 19th person? One of the servants still actually alive, and they were in it with Nanjo. Nanjo's evil. He sad one of them was dead, even though they weren't. In any case, let's continue and see where it goes.
ようやく落ち着いてくれたようやな。
Satoshi wiped his own forehead. For a time, Eva seemed to be having a very painful nightmare, but it appeared she'd finally fallen asleep. As promised, he still gripped Eva's hand. He thought it might be time to let go pretty soon, but he faithfully continued to hold on. Every once in a while, his hand would get tired, and he would switch between his right and his left. But even so, as promised, he didn't let go of her hand. That time, there was a heavy knock. Eva had finally been able to fall asleep, so Hideyoshi grimaced for just an instant.
兄貴、秀吉さん、すまねえ。ローザはそこにいるか？
It was Rudolph's voice. What could it be? Hideyoshi headed for the door, hiding his footsteps so that he wouldn't wake Eva. It was definitely Rudolph's voice, but just in case, he opened the door without removing the chain.
なんや、ローザさんがどないかしたんか？
ローザとマリアちゃんの姿が見えないんだ。一緒にいるかと思って。
廊下で鹿取ったの聞こえたで。その後静かになったからロビーに戻ったと思っとったんだが、ちゃうのか？
あのバカ。
Rudolph clicked his tongue. Other people could be seen in the corridor. Rosa hadn't returned for a while after going out into the corridor, so they began to worry. Near the front door, Natsui pointed at the unset chain.
チェーンは開いてますし、やっぱりバラを見に表へ行ったのでしょう。
鍵を開けっぱなして出ていくなど、不用心が過ぎるな。困ったやつだ。
それより、今はローザさんとマリアちゃんの身が心配よ。
だな。 おいガキども、マリアちゃんのバラってのはどこにあったんだ？
確かあれはバラ庭園の真ん中の花壇だったと思います。
あの二人がそこにいるなら行けばすぐにわかるはずです。
親父、すぐに連れ戻した方がいいだろうぜ。
当たり前だ。二人とも連れ戻してお尻ペンペンしてやるぜ。俺が一っ走り行ってくる。俺が出たらすぐに鍵をしろよ。
親父、俺も付き合うぜ。
バカ抜かせ。ガキはママとお留守番って相場が決まってら。
どうしたの？
Oh, she woke up.
何かあったの？
すまんな、起こしてしまったか。ローザさんがマリアちゃんを連れて表へ出たらしい。なんとも不用心なこっちゃ。
ローザとマリアちゃんが表へ、バラ庭園へ。
そうや。ああ、聞こえとったか。マリアちゃんはバラが見たいと騒いどったからな。
ダメよ、バラ庭園に行っちゃダメ。ローザを呼び止めて。
呼び止めるもな。もうずいぶん前に出て行っとるようや。まったく不用心な話やで。
違うの、バラ庭園はダメ。あそこには魔女がいる。そして生贄を待ってる。
Was she like witnessing all that in her dream?
ローザ行っちゃダメ。
Of a coward again, holding her head. Her complexion looked very bad.
どうしたんや？熱にうなされて何か悪い夢でも見たんか？
夢よね。バラ庭園で魔女がローザたちを。
I guess so.
そうよね、夢よね。
落ち着くんや。この部屋にはわしもおる。チェーンもかかっとる。窓かて鎧戸が下ろしてあるし、銃まであるんや。この部屋はさながら要塞やで。なんも恐れることなんかあらへん。
Lucy beat his chest, trying to calm her, but Eva's insecure expression didn't change. Under the covers, Eva kept praying that the grotesque nightmare she just had was only a dream. But it wasn't a dream.
ルドルフがバラ庭園中央にてローザ、マリアの遺体を確認。
Virgil announcing this to us because Battler isn't here. Woof. Her corpse was found in a rose garden. The cause of her death was strangling, probably by bare hands. Circumstantial evidence makes it reasonable to assume she was killed after Rosa. Then her blood became the red ink for the witch's oath. Oh, that like sharp silhouette there. Died in a rose garden where her medulla oblongata pierced by the spear-shaped part of the fence. If Maria's death hadn't been a clear homicide, it may have been possible to suspect an accidental death in Rosa's case. This woman was the human sacrifice for the birth of a new witch. Man, the two splotches on either side and her like face just completely grayed out is so strange. Unsettling? In the center of the rose garden, Rudolph identified the corpses of Rosa Maria.
その後、ゲストハウスに戻って応援を呼び、両名をゲストハウスに運び込みました。南條の検視を信頼できるならば、ローザの死因は円髄部への柵の先端部分による死突。マリアについては素手による考察と考えられます。
Explaining what we just read earlier.
ただし、悪魔の証明により、誤審率は否定できません。わらわが赤にて語る。ローザとマリアは死亡した。
That it.
死因は男女の見立て通りだ。
So they are for sure dead, and they died exactly as Nanjo had said.
雲にも食われておらんし、 ケーキの山に潰されたわけでもない。
Oh? You don't want to go along with that? Whole magic thing?
安心せよ。
あれだけ死をもてあそび、死体が綺麗だからいいだろうって論法かよ。俺は絶対に許さねえぞ。ローザおばさんに対する無残な仕打ちの数々、絶対に忘れねえし許さねえからな。
だからあれはわらわではないというに、あやつの仕打ちに比べたらはるかに安らかな死を与えたはず。
うるさい、黙れ。
He doesn't want none of
お前とは
it.
口を聞かない。18人しか島にいないと言い切られ、すでに8人が死んでいる以上、容疑者は10人に絞られる。その中の誰かが殺したってんだろう。あるいは事故死かもな。マリアが発作的に泣きわめき、それを泣き止まそうとしたローザおばさんは力の加減を誤ってつい殺してしまったとか。
I can see that probably happening. Rosa getting too frustrated. Using too much force. Killing her. And then panicking, she like... While walking backward, she tripped and fell on the fence. I assume the fence isn't that high if she could just... be impaled like this.
それで動転して滑って転んで柵に倒れて運悪く死んでしまった。
Yeah, I can see that being a reasonable line of thought.
どうだよ、これで魔女も魔法も出番なしだ。
ああ、そういうわけではないぞ。実はだな、ローザとマリアは。
うるさい、お前とは口を聞かないと言っている。目障りだから消えろ。化け物。
Battler said that without rage, but with a horribly cold voice. That strange behavior was something Beto had noticed right off the bat. In a fight, both of them could go at each other without restraint. However, he wouldn't even step into the ring. She could feel that coldness. Beto didn't find that amusing. She thought about flaring up, but she held back. Maybe even though she was innocent and childish, she had enough sense to realize that she shouldn't pick fights.
そうかよ。なら姿を消すと。どの上。続きを引き継げ。
かしこまりました。よろしいですか、バトラ様。
問題のない申し出です。バトラ君がベアとの顔を見たくないというなら、それもありかと。
好きにしろよ。その化け物の顔を見なくて済むなら何だって構わないぞ。
なあ、ちょっと待てよ。さっきから化け物化け物と。わらわはひどい言われようではないか。なぜにわらわはそこまでバトラに毛嫌いされねばならぬというのか。あれらはすべてわらわではなく、わらわの弟子の仕業であろうが。
It was your disciple?
別に俺はさっきのことだけで腹を立ててるわけじゃねえぜ。一番最初からだ。
なあ、バトラ、誤解するなよ。わらわとそなたはゲームを通して対峙し合うプレイヤー同士なだけではないか。
You keep killing his family members and making him just watch it.
互いに相手を苦しめるために指し手を探るが。
勘違いするな。俺はお前が魔女を認める認めないのおかしなゲームのライバルだから嫌ってるんじゃない。お前の無意味に残酷なところがどうしても許せないだけなんだ。
そりゃあ連続殺人を通してのゲームだからな。多少は残酷になるのはやむを得まいだろうに。
さっきのことだけじゃない。前回だって前々回だって みんなの腹を裂いてお菓子を詰め込んだり、顔面を耕したり、それに何の意味があったってんだ。
それは
密室殺人だの、トリックだの、アリバイだの、そこまでは100歩譲ってやる。お前は魔法殺人だと主張したいんだから。
Not voiced. So I'll grudgingly accept that those completed crimes need to occur.
しかし、あれらのグロテスクな殺人に一体どれほどの意味があるというのか。
それは別に。
Nothing much.
そうさ、何の意味もない。お前はただ悪ふざけで死者を切り刻んで面白がっているだけだ。それは魔女だからとか、魔法じゃなきゃできないからとか、そういうのじゃない。ただお前が面白半分に残酷の限りを尽くしているだけなんだ。それはお前が魔女だからとか、そういうことじゃない。ただただ人として許せないものがあるからだ。
なんだよ、その人としてってやつは。
例えば今回のゲームの第1の番の6人、まあじいさまの黒焦げはともかく、他の5人の死体は不要に死者を恥ずかしめない普通の殺し方だった。凶器が槍だか銃だかははっきりしないが、とにかく殺しの中じゃまだ許容できるマシなものだった。前回前々回の第1の番での非常識さ、残酷さに比べればはるかにマシだった。そして今回の6つの密室をつなげた連鎖密室、まあまあ面白かったぜ。あれをお前とやりとりしてるときは、今だから白状するが少しだけ楽しいと思った。自分の存在を認めさせようと必死になるお前と、それを否定しようと必死になる俺、どっちも必死で全力だ。おかしな話だが、俺はお前との間にささやかなスポーツマンシップさえ感じたものさ。俺とお前は相入れない存在だが、全く理解できない存在でもないかもしれないとわずかに思えた。だがその気持ちはついさっきみじんも残らずに吹き飛んだ。
だからそなたは誤解しておる。あれはわらわではなく。
違う、俺はそういう話をしてるんじゃない。
It's how you were enjoying it.
お前はローザおばさんがひどい殺し方を何度も何度も繰り返されるのを見て、面白い見せ物だと嘲笑った。それを見て俺は深く失望した。
Oh,
お
disappointment.
前が今回少しはマシな殺し方を選んだのは何かのちょっとした気まぐれなんであって、本来の残酷な勝負には何の変わりもないんだと分かって深く失望した。それどころかお前は残酷な死を純粋に楽しんでさえいる。俺に意地悪をするためだけに残酷を尽くしてるんじゃない。お前は本当に純粋に残酷を楽しんでいる。楽しめる性分なんだ。お前はローザおばさんが何度もむごたらしく殺されているのを俺に楽しいだろうと言った。嫌味で言ったんじゃない。それを俺にも共感してほしくて楽しいだろうと言ったんだ。その瞬間俺は失望し悟った。お前が魔女だとかそうでないとか、そういうことが問題なんじゃない。俺はお前のその残酷さが許せない。そして理解できない。許すこともできない。だが魔女を認めるか否定するかというゲームは続ける。自ら降りて敗北を認めたりはしないさ。だがそのゲームにお前の無意味な残酷さは何の必要もない。だから俺はお前を対戦相手として認めないことにする。ロノベの方が100倍マシだ。 お前のような残酷趣味はない。あったとしても、俺の前でそれをひけらかす悪趣味はない。そうさ。お前は悪趣味だ。
That was so
残酷
cool.
で心がなく。だから理解することができない。相手として不快だ。だから俺はお前の顔を二度と見たくない。
As Battler went on and on by himself, Beto was shocked into silence for a long time. Maybe she couldn't understand what she was being told. And she was doing all she could in an flicking through the different sprites. For a while, she kept switching between angry expressions, frustrated expressions, bold expressions, as though even she herself didn't know what attitude she should take. In the end, she made her face into a candid expression, as though she had come to her senses, and she shrugged her shoulders as though she was tired.
なら好きにすればよい。わらわは以後ロノウェを通してゲームを続けることにする。わらわが姿を見せないのであれば文句ないであろう。
とりあえずはな。だが、お前の重ねてきた残酷な行為の数々を、俺は絶対に許さない。だから絶対にお前を認めない。そのためにも、お前に売られた喧嘩を俺から降りない。そして絶対に負けない。それだけだ。
ベアト、これ以上言い訳を重ねても彼の心象は変わりませんよ。後で話があります。それまで下がっていなさい。
うん、わかった。それでは呼ばれるまで姿を消している。
Beto actually looking lonely, Beto turned her back to them and vanished. Butler watched, a slightly displeased expression on his face. He thought his argument had been valid, but for some reason his mood didn't clear up.
あいつはバカだろ。
そうですね。
Ooh.
バカで素直です。
あのバカ。ローザおばさんが残酷に殺されるところを俺と見て、満面の笑みで振り返りやがった。あの残酷症。本気で俺と笑い合えると信じてやがったんだ。俺とその感情を共有できると、本気で信じてやがった。あの無邪気な笑顔を見て、俺は最低な気持ちになったぜ。むしろこれまでのように、意地悪な面で言われた方がずっとマシだった。畜生。
お嬢様は友達というものを持った試しのない方です。
He just wants a friend.
それどころか、あれほど強くものを言われたことさえなかったでしょう。私もマダムも共に付き人。何を申し上げてもお耳には届きません。お嬢様にはこれも。
ふざけるな。俺はあいつの友達になった覚えはないぞ。
そうでございますね。失礼いたしました。
一つだけあなたに感謝を。あの子のゲームを降りないでくれてありがとう。
Spoke words of gratitude, but for some reason Battler made a displeased face. Then, as though in self-derision, he chuckled.
魔女やら悪魔やらに礼を言われるようになっちゃ、俺もおしまいだな。ゲームを再開しようぜ。もちろん手心を加えるつもりはないからな。
望むところです。お嬢様と違い、私は熱くはなりませんよ。
Arnov is always calm.
俺の手はすでに刺したぜ。ローザおばさんが犯人で、事故死と仮定すれば魔女は否定できる。ローザおばさんを疑いたくはないが、ベアトをぶっ潰すために今はあえてそうだと仮定する。
赤で否定を行います。 ローザとマリアの2人は他殺です。
Alright, that's interesting info. But then who? Who would have done it? The only one I could think that would do it would be Eva in like normal Eva, but she was in like bed the entire time, right? I'm gonna just beat you to itty bitty bits. I'm still with Battler on denying witches. You should know this. So all that happened couldn't have actually been what happened, obviously. A homicide. Someone, I guess, pushed? Like, Rosa onto the fence and then strangled Maria? Who? Rosa had a gun, or had the gun, so she... It couldn't have been some sort of stranger. It would have been someone she knew coming up to her, obviously. What could have happened?
よし、そこから始めようじゃねえか。くそ、盛り上がらねえぜ。
It's not the same without Beto bullying me. Alright, so now we're back here. With Rosa and Maria's deaths, it's now clear that the culprit was still hiding somewhere, trying to add even more murders to this chain. As he shed tears, Rudolph scolded Rosa's corpse for being reckless several times, but Rosa would never respond to that again. They decided to place the two corpses in one of the guest rooms, seal it until the police arrived. The second murder, no, the murder of the second Twilight had delivered a heavy blow to everyone. Had blown away the optimism that some of them had held. The thought that a crime didn't actually occur, and it was all a game or a farce by Kinzo and the servants. Trying to distract themselves from the loss of the people they liked, not loved, George and Jessica had spent the whole time since morning talking about every possibility. They had distracted their hearts by supposing that these murders might actually have all been an act, and that Shannon and Canon were only pretending to be dead. When the next murder occurred, it destroyed that thought, and they were once again struck by the fact that the person they liked had most definitely been killed. The tears they thought had died away began to drip down once more, and Battler couldn't think of anything to say to them. After that, all of the adults checked on... Let me read that. After that, all of the adults checked that all of the rooms were safe and locked, just in case. They made certain that the shutters on all the windows were down and locked, and they confirmed that no one suspicious was hiding anywhere. What about the other mansion? We did learn about that this episode. Is that going to be brought up again? On top of that, they checked their weapons once again, and checked with each other to make sure they were mentally prepared, so that they wouldn't hesitate to fire off a preemptive shot if they saw the shadow of a mysterious person. Rosa's gun had been found near the scene of the crime. Someone had gone out of their way to leave it there, so everyone suspected that it was some kind of trap. But when Hideyoshi delicately used a fire iron to fire off test shots, it was able to discharge without incident. So, since the 5 shots loaded into it had discharged without any problems, they reloaded it with bullets and handed it over to the only adult male who wasn't armed, Hideyoshi. However, the fact that I had been able to fire off 5 shots gave rise to a certain paranoia. The short barrel Winchester could only hold 5 shots. In other words, Rosa hadn't fired even once. I'm sure it would have been very loud and heard if she did fire it off once. Sorry, rubbing mice. And yet, the two had probably been killed by someone with their bare hands. This meant there was a possibility that the crime had been committed by someone whose face they knew.
最初の殺人が起きた時、私は内心これが全て芝居である可能性を考えたの。南條先生には悪いけど、実は南條先生もグルで、何かお父様が凝りに凝った大芝居を打った可能性もあると思った。だって彼らの密室状況は彼らの自作自演を想定しない限り生み出せないのだもの。
僕たちもそれを疑いました。いえ、今もそうであってほしいと信じてます。
申し訳ないが、それはありません。私も老いぼれです。誤信もあるかもしれない。しかし生き死にを間違えるようなことは絶対にない。
分かってるよ。わざわざそれを口に出すなよ、南條先生。
Come on, don't be mad at him.
すみません。
They had no way of knowing, but Beto have already used red to proclaim the deaths of the the deaths of all victims so far in this game. That faint dream that it was all a farce, that the victims were actually alive. Sorry to say it, but that's impossible.
となりゃこの島に屋敷に精通した何者かが潜んでいて、練りに練った犯行を実行したと考える方が自然だろうよ。つまりこの島には台風が来て外界と途絶された時点で18人以上の人間がいたんだ。
Of course, there was no way for them to know about that either. That claim of Rudolph's had also been denied in red. There were no more than 18 humans on this island.
こう考えると少しは辻褄が合うのかしら。つまり隠れ潜んでいる何者かは本来は今島にいるはずのない人物にもかかわらず、ローザさんが油断するような顔見知りの人物である可能性よ。
それは例えばこの2日間のシフトに当たっていない使用人などですか。
それを言われると弱いな。我々は勤務を終えた彼らが離島するのを切符切りのように確認しているわけではない。数日前のシフトの使用人が離島したふりをして島内に留まっていたかもしれないと仮定した。否定するのは難しいね。
Full line of thinking, but
ローザさん
possible.
もアホちゃうと思うで。いるはずのない使用人がひょっこり姿を現したら普通は警戒バリバリや。
顔見知りの犯行と決めつけるのもどうかと思うわ。暗がりから突然ローザが襲われて銃を奪われそうになった。そしたらローザが転んで柵に頭を打ち動かなくなった。ゲストハウスが近かったので銃声を嫌い素手でマリアちゃんを殺したとか。
そういう可能性もあるな。
Interesting line of thought.
そうだとしてもだ。現場にわざわざローザの銃を残していくだろうか。犯人が何を武装しているか知らねえが、こちらの銃は不安要素のはずだ。その一丁をなびけるチャンスだったはずだぜ。なぜわざわざ現場に残したんだ。
私は初めその銃を罠だと思ったの。チェス盤思考だとそうなる。わざわざ残した以上私たちの誰かに手に取らせたい。そして引き金を引かせたいに違いない。てっきり暴発して大怪我を負わせるような危険な仕掛けがされてるに違いないと思ってたわ。
でも現に大丈夫や。おそらく犯人も焦っとったんとちゃうか。 今頃銃を奪うチャンスを逃したことを後悔しとるに決まっとるで。
なんだか不愉快だな。
Unless it was you, and that's why you're happy you have the gun now.
銃なんか怖くもないっていう魔女のメッセージみたいでムカつくぜ。
しかし、いずれにせよ恐ろしい相手ですね。ローザさんが銃を持っていることははためにも分かったはず。にもかかわらず襲いかかるとは。銃を恐れないという点を私たちは軽視するべきではありません。
夏日の言う通りだ。これまで以上に用心すべきだろう。
念のためなんだけど、ローザさんたちが外に出たと思われる頃、みんなはどこにいたのかしら。
私と夏日、そしてルドルフとキリエさんはここで一緒だった。私がアリバイを保証する。
Okay.
わしとエヴァも一緒だったで。わしが保証するわ。
Okay.
俺とジョージの兄貴、ジェシカも一緒だったぜ。ローザおばさんに2階へ戻ってろと怒鳴られ、すごすごといとこ部屋へ引き返したさ。
あの時マリアを生かせなければ。
それを言ってももうどうしようもないよ。
南條先生は？
私は2階の部屋で本を読んでおりました。一人でおりましたので誰にもアリバイは証明できませんが、子供たちと一緒に2階へ戻ったのは皆さんも見ているはずです。
これを言い出したらキリがないが、窓から飛び降りてローザを襲って雨どいでもよじ登ってまた戻ってきた。
めっそうもない。この楼体に2階から飛び降りたりよじ登ったりなどというゲートをできるわけがありません。
Banjo of all people could have that. But if it's all muscle underneath that
や
fat.
めましょう。それよりも互いを信頼し合って子供たちのためにもここの安全を死守することの方が先決です。
そうだ、夏日さんの言う通りだ。今は内部を疑い合うのをやめよう。
そうね、犯人探しなんて私たちには無用かもしれないわ。ただ明日まで生き残り、警察に通報してその指示に従うだけ。犯人が誰かなんて警察が必ず暴き出してくれるのだから。
Definitely, huh?
どうしたんやエヴァ。
Only one with a weak alibi is Nanjo. These four were together, these three were together, these two were together. Nanjo was alone. But that seems too easy. Oh, just like selecting a servant was too easy in one of the earlier episodes. I think the first one, actually.
まだ体調が悪いんとちゃうか。
母さん、どうしたの？大丈夫？
ごめんなさい。まだ熱が高いみたいなの。大丈夫だから放っておいて。
When they looked, they saw Eva staring at the floor, her breathing harsh again. She had been able to act firm for a time due to the urgency of their situation, but it seemed her body wasn't at its best after all. Ah, here she is.
あの二人は私が殺した。これで黄金のことを知っているのは私。他の兄弟たちにはかけら一つだって譲りはしないの。
なんてことを。あれだけの莫大な黄金なのよ。ローザたちに分け前をあげたって全く問題はなかったでしょうに。
あるわよ。あれは後宮家の当主だけが引き継げる黄金なの。だからこそそれは全て丸ごと当主の栄誉そのものなの。それにわずかほどでも傷をつけることはこの私、新しき黄金の魔女メアトリーチェが絶対に許さないわ。
あなたは魔女の碑文通りに殺人を続けるつもりなの？まさかあと5人も人殺しを続けるつもりなの？
ええ、その面倒な儀式を終えないと私の魔女としての力は完全なものにならないらしいの。ねえ私、この魔女の力は本当にすごいわ。私たちが妄想してきた全てが本当に実現できる。夢が夢でなくなる力なの。この力を知ってしまったらもう魔女はやめられない。儀式を完全に終えて私の力が完全なものになれば、きっとそれをあなたにも教えてあげられるわ。
Absolutely insane.
バカなことはやめて。魔女ごっこはもう十分でしょ。私たちは黄金を見つけたわ。そして次期当主の座だって約束されてるわ。ほんの少しの綱渡りは必要だろうけど、もうそれは絶対に叶う夢なのに、これ以上あなたは何を望むというの？
私は魔女になりたかったわ。
私そんな夢なんか知らないわよ。
そうよ、その夢を持ち続けてるから私はこの年のままで生きながらえているの。あなたはその夢を大人になることで捨てたわ。いくら待てども時計を持ったウサギなど訪れないし、ハンプティ・ダンプティにも会えはしない。
Humpty
もちろ
Dumpty.
んトランプの国に招かれたりも絶対にない。あなたはそう諦めてしまったから大人になったのよ。だからもう魔女になりたいなんて思わない。それが本当の自分の夢であったことも忘れてしまったの。
とにかくやめて。私はもう2つの夢を手に入れている。黄金と当主の座。それでもう十分なの。だからお願い、あんたの夢なんて知ったことじゃない。おとなしくしてて。
いやよ、魔法面白いもの。それにあなたの2つの夢は私の魔法のおかげで叶ったのよ。なのに私の夢は叶えてはいけないなんて不公平よ。
あなたの魔法には感謝してるし、あなたこそが本当の魔女だと私は認めてるわ。だからもうおとなしく私の胸の中に帰って、そして二度と現れないで。
いやー、私たちお互いに勘違いしてるわね。そうよ、私はもうあんたじゃないの。あんたは後ろ宮エヴァ、私は黄金の魔女ベアトリーチェ。だからあんたの胸の中に帰る義理はないの。さながらあなたという殻を脱皮して蝶になったような気分かしら。
What have you done, Eva?
熱で意識が朦朧とする。
私の魔力が未熟な分をあなたの正気で補ってるの。
My inexperience with magical powers forcing me to support it with your vitality. I think you're missing a word. Forcing me to support it with your vitality.
私が儀式を終えて完全な魔女になるまであなたに負担をかけるかもね。それくらいは2つの夢を叶えてあげた対価ってことにしてもらうわよ。大丈夫、安心して。残る5人の生贄についてはあんたの家族は外してあげるわ。そうね、ルドルフ、キリエ、クラウス、
What an ugly face.
あとは老いぼれの南條なんかどう？ちょうどいいわ。この5人を殺すわね。あなただけに明かす殺害予告ってところかしら。
Nanjo! Eva finally crouched down. Hideyoshi rushed up to her and let her his shoulder.
大丈夫か？無理せんと休もう。
大丈夫かね、南條先生。エヴァ、
When Nanjo and George tried to approach, Eva made a gesture to stop them.
ありがとう。大丈夫よ、南條先生。薬なら飲んでるの。こんな非常事態で申し訳ないけど、もう少しだけ休ませてもらうわ。
母さん、僕も肩を貸すよ。
ありがとう。お父さんが見ててくれるから平気よ。あなたは2階のいとこ部屋に戻って決して出てこないように。いいわね。何があってもゲストハウスを出ちゃダメよ。外にはあの魔女が。
もう喋るなや。みんなすまんな。わしはエヴァを部屋で看病しとる。なんかあったら呼んでや。
Ryoshi and Eva retreated from the lobby. However, Eva wasn't the only one who wasn't feeling good. They hadn't gotten a wink of sleep since the previous night and had been pressed by tensions that morning. They were mustering their energy to protect their families, but if they relaxed even a little, surely everyone would be down and out.
ここまでは順調であるが、ここからが難しいぞ。
難しいとは？
うん。大抵の場合、儀式が進行するにつれ犠牲者が増えると、彼らは守りを固めるようになり、多くの場合、一ところに固まって動かなくなるのだ。それは我らにとって非常に都合が悪い。
それは私たち魔女が群れた人間に劣るということですか？
魔女が人間に劣ることはない。ただ、時代が変わり、人間が毒を持つようになったというべきか。大昔の魔法が信じられていた時代は問題なかったのだが、現代人はあの小憎たらしいバトラがそうであるように、基本的に魔法を否定する。つまり、存在自体が反魔法的なのだ。その結果、彼らはいつの間にか体内に魔法を否定する毒素を有するようになった。
つまり人間の数が多ければ多いほど、その反魔法の毒素が強くなって、私たち魔女には不利だとおっしゃられるのですか？
彼らの魔法を否定する心の力、すなわち
In other
抵抗
words,
力の合計値がそのまま魔法力の分母となるわけだ。わかるか？そなたにはちと難しいか？
ご冗談を。実に簡単にわかります。つまり魔法を信じない人間が多ければ、そしてその意志が強ければ強いほど、魔法は効果を劇的に助産されるとおっ
maybe
し
she
ゃっておられ
does
る
get
ので
it.
すね。なるほど。そのような計算式ならば、攻め方を考え直さなければなりません。
Fundamentally, magic possesses a vast power. It can even make a rain of fire fall from the heavens or divide a sea. Reviving a lost life isn't possible either. However, that power is extremely weak against the toxin that rejects it. And that toxin started piling up in humans since the time they forgot to respect things sacred. Until finally, this earth was covered with enough toxin that the miracles of magic could not be displayed. Thus, witches from across the world were chased from their dwellings. They had been forced to choose to throw away their magic and live as humans, or else live in hiding in remote areas where the toxin of humans didn't reach. In that sense, Rapunjima, with its population of only a few dozen humans, was extremely favorable for witches. And even more favorable was the existence of the ghost story about a witch who lived in Rokunjima Forest. In other words, by permeating the island with fear that a witch might exist, the magic-resisting toxin from the humans was weakened. A small population and a room for them to acknowledge magical beings. In other words, minds that were only weakly anti-magical. Only by existing in a valley where those two converge could a witch live in modern times. So bad. I think I've seen it worse in a scene before.
つまりその計算式によるならば、魔女が効率よく力を振るうにはいくつかのルールがあることになりますね。一つは演出。
人間の仕業とは思えない殺人を演出し、オカルト的な装飾を施して、彼らに魔女の存在を強くアピールし、浸透させることによって、その結果、反魔法力が減少して、魔法力の分母の減少も図られる。なるほど。第一の番の不気味な魔法陣の演出などはこれに当たるわけですか。
そうよ、その通り。毎回の第一の番のどぎつい演出は全てそのためのものなのだ。別に決してわらわが残酷なのが好きで面白半分でやっていたわけではないのだぞ。
It definitely is, though. What are you talking about?
だとしたら先代様、今回のは失敗ですね。殺し方が非常に地味でした。ただのミステリーにしか見えません。ロノウェイに聞いていますが、前回や前々回のように遺体をもっと派手に損壊してファンタジーに見せかけ、彼らに恐怖心を植え付けるべきでしたね。
まあ、そうだな。毎回それでは芸がないと思ってな。深く考えるでない。気まぐれだ。
Actually, it really had been her whim. After what Battler had said to her, she couldn't say it out loud anymore. But she really had decided her methods of killing. She really had decided her methods of killing based on mere whims. No, would it be better to say that she had half-heartedly let Renov decide? After all, she left the closed rooms of this game's first twilight to him. But if she had a cruel idea, then she would surely have explored the limits of atrocity even worse than in the previous game.
ローザとマリアの殺し方についても先代様は自重するようにおっしゃられましたが、それも私たち魔女に利する行為ではありませんね。実際彼らは現時点では魔女が実在するなんてこれっぽっちも信じてません。ファンタジーでなく完全にミステリーだと確信しています。私たち魔女にとって失敗した展開です。先代様がどういうわけかぬるいやり方を繰り返したせいです。
ああ、そのだな。若いうちの苦労は買ってでもしろと言うではないか。先代からそなたへのこれは試練である。慎んで挑むがよいぞ。
What a fake laugh. Beto tried to laugh heartily, but it was obviously the fake laugh of someone trying to cover something up. And the new witch shrugged with a sigh.
この段階から演出によって反魔法力を減ずるのは多分手遅れでしょうね。となればもう一つの手、人間の分散が良いでしょう。
それが最も効果的であろうぞ。人間の人数が少なければ少ないほど、その結果魔法力はてきめんとなる。つまりこの籠城状態をいかに崩して少人数に分散させるかがここからのポイントとなるわけだな。しかし彼らはもはや用心深い。容易には籠城を崩せぬぞ。前々回の金蔵の書斎での籠城、前回の客間での籠城、いずれも手強かった。ましてや今回は老快な大人勢がほとんど残った状態での籠城となっておる。状況はこれまで以上に困難であるぞ。そなたが望むなら特別に助言を与えてやってもよいのだがな。
You probably won't want it. In a closed circle, when the first murder case, survivors always hold up, gathering together to observe each other and ensure their safety. Funnily enough, not only do mystery authors and murder culprits worry about how to break that situation apart, but so do witches, who supposedly exist at the other end of the spectrum. For a while, the new witch poked her cheek with her pointer finger. And after acting as though she was planning something, she spoke.
いいえ、結構です。試練ですから。先代様の手は借りません。
そうか？
すでに手は打ってあります。きっと 引っかかるはずです。
頭のいいやつならむしろ必ず。
Oh?
そうか。そなたは優秀であるな。手のかからぬ弟子でわらわは嬉しいぞ。
私、人に聞く前に自分で勉強するがモットーなので。それでは失礼します。獲物がのこのこと誘い出されるのを待たねばなりませんので。
うん。
It
それでは
lured out,
し
huh?
っかりな。
As the new witch lowered her head, her face blank, she turned into gold butterflies and vanished. Rachel didn't look happy at all. She seemed to be lonely because of how little she was being relied on.
どいつもこいつもわらわのことなど構いもせぬ。
A fig!
魔女見習いめ、天狗になりよって今に手痛いミスをして泣き言を言うに違いないぞ。
She probably isn't.
その時こそようやくわらわの偉大さを理解し、それまでわらわは高みの見物よ。
I want Beatrice to, like, end up sabotaging her at the very end or something. Okay, redo the game one more time without her. This time for reals. She laughed loudly on the outside, but a laugh no one could hear is completely pointless. Riddle gave up and quickly stopped laughing. Renob chose that time to show himself.
失礼いたします。お嬢バトラ様との第2の番のゲームが終了いたしました。
そうか。ご苦労であった。守備はどうであったか。
You won.
申し訳ございません。リザインさせていただきました。バトラ様のローザがマリアを考察、その後に自己死は赤にて両名他殺で切り返したのですが、エヴァを主犯に据えられた一連の差し手を切り返しませんでした。
Really? Could not repel this chain of moves, placing Eva as the principal offender. That was my line of thought because all the goats. Because who else? Like, Nanjo was alone. His alibi is basically none. But that would be too easy. Rudolph, Natsui, or Kraus, Natsui, Rudolph, Kairi were all together in the same room, as well as these three. So the only, like, Eva and Hideyoshi were together, but Eva knows about the gold. So if we ignore the, like, all the magic and stuff, I think these two are most likely, especially if this, like, which Eva we're seeing is, like, based on her actual greed she has herself. I can imagine her, like, telling maybe Hideyoshi, and both of them working together to silence Rosa to get her out of the picture, so that they wouldn't have to share the gold. Because now she won't be forced to announce anything about her finding the gold in the first place. She can slowly work out what to do with it. Ba-bam, ba-bam. Bryce would go as far as doing that himself, though. Battler, I mean. I want to see it. Go to flashback. Let me see.
エヴァは秀吉にずっと看病されて部屋で寝ていたであろうが。
秀吉も共犯で、両名でアリバイを作った可能性を提示されました。
Yeah! Maybe I should talk a bit more about my theories as I have them instead of, just waiting a bit more. To read a bit more, rather.
秀吉まで疑うか。
I would. I suspected Hideyoshi in the freaking first one. thought for sure he was probably faking his death in the shower. There was very little blood. He could have like pretended there was something in his forehead somehow. Especially if Nanjo was part of it. He might be part of it. And a lot of this episode does mirror what happened in the first episode. At least the very beginning parts of it. The servants being dead are certainly different. Hideyoshi is like I don't know, man. Sometimes the very good ones are evil. Sometimes it's actually just a fake personality. That's the word I'm looking for, I think.
殺害時には客室にいたと赤にで叩き切ってやればよいではないか。
それも考えましたが、いずれにせよ数手先でいくつかの大駒を奪われてしまうかもしれません。
If we just... Maybe Hideyoshi isn't part of it. But then who? Struck back by saying in red that he was in the guest room at the time of the murder. We're not seeing it in red, so I'm not gonna take that as complete truth.
それに、この手が新しきベアトリーチェ様が撃たれた布石の可能性もありますので、それを尊重することといたしました。申し訳ありません。
布石か。あやつ頭が切れるようだからの。好きにさせておくがよい。どこまでやれるか見ものだ。
そうおっしゃると思いました。弟子が可愛くないので。
Uncuteness.
余計なお世話だ。あやつめ。ここからの籠城をどう崩していくつもりなのか。わらはもじっくり拝見させてもらうとするぞ。それでバトラの機嫌の方はどうなのか？
She loves him.
落ち着いておられるように見えました。やはりお嬢様が相手でないと盛り上がらないとおっしゃっておいででしたよ。
そうか。そうであろう、そうであろう。第4の番以降はやはりわらわが復帰しないとバトラも寂しかろうな。
I still think he'll probably not want to see you though.
それでは私は美味しいクッキーを焼かねばなりません。
Yo, more cookies?
せめてお嬢様とバトラ様のお話が弾みますように。
うん。あいつ、お前のクッキーボリボリ食ってたな。やはり男の子だからお腹が空くのであろう。多めに焼いてやれ。
かしこまりました。クッキーでテーブルを埋めてご覧に入れましょう。
You can go for some
それ
cookies.
が良いぞ。
Alright, where are we going now?
なんだよ。話ってなんだ。
Oh, more thinking? Harry called Rudolph out into the corridor. It was obvious that she wanted to talk about something that she didn't want the others to hear.
あのね、私、
Oh.
表へ出たい。
You can't put a scene break there. She wants to go outside. It's only been like 3 hours. But should we maybe end it there? And maybe continue a bit more of it tomorrow? I also still don't know what to do tomorrow. I'm thinking we could probably end a bit early here because been up for a while now. Hmm. Did want to make it to at least the second season. How much longer is this next set of seasons? Pretty long, but it's also peak.
確かにわずかばかりの朝食では体が持たないが、しかし
Maybe we do save it for next. Maybe I do play more Umineko tomorrow and then continue it from there if it's pretty good. I think what we got, we didn't get too much today, but I think what we did get was pretty interesting. Whole Battler getting upset at Beatrice and then Beatrice wanting to, I guess, trying to win back that small bit of friendship they had. Saying they have a friendship is weird, though. Then the Eva Beatrice being absolutely insane and far more cruel than Fatal like ever was. I'm actually really interested in what her plan is. It seems to be involving wanting Kyrie to go outside. Doesn't bode too well. They tear apart. Those who remain shall praise him. I feel like this hasn't really been done. And who's gonna praise Beatrice at this point in time? How's that part gonna work? Unless that one, the third Twilight is always just like, doesn't matter. It's there purely for the riddle. How to find a gold. Gouge the head, gouge the chest. Guessing fourth and fifth Twilight will be Kyrie and Rudolph. Really, I want to know what she's thinking. Why she wants to go outside. Usually we just say Maria or servants, but not, yeah, they're all got this like. At this point, right now, no one has any reason to think that a witch is around, is actually exists. Maybe a small, slight belief with how the gun was left there. But someone, the culprit being someone they know, or rather someone Rosa knew, I think far, like, outshadows that, outweighs it. Interesting. In any case, I think I'll stop a little bit short here. Relax for a bit and eat lunch, and then hopefully I'm far more well rested by tomorrow, and we'll probably will do another thing of this, and then we'll go back to the normal schedule of doing Umineko on Fridays and Saturdays. What am I gonna do for like Tuesday and all that? Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. I could go back to playing more Sonic Unleashed. We did leave that unfinished. Anything else? You know, I was interested in playing a game I did see earlier. I think it was called Blueprints. Where's this? I like this track. Have that playing there. Thinking maybe of getting that. But maybe I shouldn't buy... Maybe I shouldn't buy games on a whim. But I did hear it was pretty good. Maybe I'll worry about that after... Or more worry about new things after getting through the normal route on Deltarune. I'll continue working on my save. Could stream that. Or like... me working on the... getting it save ready on Tuesday and whatnot. Guess we'll see. Tomorrow for sure more Umineko then. Until then, anyone want to watch me, thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time. See ya, see ya! Bit of a shorter stream today, but we'll stream for longer for sure next time.